Bonjour!
Bonsoir.
Ooh la la! Ladies and gentlemen, you may wonder why this fabulous hammer. Bienvenue to JCB Live. Dear friends, this is a treat. I've met this young man a while ago. He's charismatic, obviously very charming. We have to forgive him, he has an English accent. So it makes it even more sexy than ever. And this is Jamie Ritchie, who is in charge of Sotheby's. Sotheby's, as you all know, is one of the most historical, famous 18th century English auction house that does so many great things, including wine and spirits and many other things. Jamie happens to be here for the wine auction, and he's going to show us and tell us all that Sotheby is doing and what's going to happen tomorrow. So join me to welcome the famous, the one and only Jamie Ritchie. So welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we are honored to have you in the Red Room because you represent one of the most historical houses in the world of auctions.
Yep, founded in 1744 in London and are now headquartered in New York. So we've been in the wine business really since 1970. I joined in 1990. And in those days, we were just really a London-based auction business. And then we've expanded. Now London, New York, Hong Kong, opened in France last year. We're retail as well as auction.
Well, with such a great hairstyle, I thought you were born in 1744.
Hopefully not.
So how does it feel to be part of a house with such history, such pedigree?
Well, we have a great brand name, which stands for total trust, integrity, and expertise. But I think in the last year, 2 years particularly, I think we've shown that an old house can also be super innovative in terms of what are we doing, how are we driving the market forward, expanding in spirits, expanding in selling in France, moving into the charitable auction environment with the Hospice de Beaune, with the Napa Valley Vintners auctions, with the Distillers one-of-one sales. So I think we can prove that an old house doesn't need to be a stodgy house. It should be innovative and moving forward and creating and driving new opportunities in markets.
This is brilliant. So maybe we go back a few years, and it would be great if you would explain us how you got into the Hospice de Beaune. This is a big deal, dear friends. We here in Napa Valley, in the early 80s, we started the wine auction, modeled after the oldest auction of wine on the planet in Burgundy, where I happen to be from. And it's been very exciting because for the Hospice to become innovative, as you said, took a lot of negotiations and discussions, and Jamie succeeded to take over the wine auction in Burgundy and as Sotheby's to become the phenomenal arm to bring the world of collectors together around the Hospice.
Yeah, so the Hospice was an aspiration of ours. Obviously, it's a government-mandated organisation. So every 5 years, they put out an RFP, an appel d'offre, to which you can compete for to see if you can partner with them. And so that came up last year, year before last, at the end of the year, and many people competed for it. It was actually our first time competing for it, and I think we had an interesting vision for the next evolution of it. Obviously, it's a super historic auction. You know, it was the 161st version we did. It was our first, but they're 161st. So this is a very, very historic, the oldest charity auction in the world, oldest charity wine auction in the world.
Yeah.
And it has many different components. It obviously has the hospital that runs the organisation. It has the winemaking team. It has the old negociants who have always been involved with the auction. It has the newer negociants who have become more important in the auction. It has the town of Beaune, the mayor. It now has Sotheby's, and it has our clients. So there's a lot of different interests at play in the auction. And I think for us, it was very, very exciting to take it over. It's a very, very complicated auction, the most complicated I've been involved in. But it is something which is essentially trying to broaden the world of the Hospice Dubone through our global network to a broad audience worldwide. And I think that's pretty similar to what we're doing here in Napa Valley in the same sort of idea. So we have a phenomenal IT platform
Yes.
where all the auctions are online, so anyone can bid through using the website, the app. The app's super easy to use, and then obviously we have a global audience, and our platform can change directly from an online bidding platform into it seamlessly moves into a live auction platform. So you've really got the user experience and the global reach, which for the Auspice Dubone and I think for Napa Valley is a super interesting dimension which we bring to it.
That's amazing. And explain us, Jamie, the history of auction and why auction makes sense for the world of wine as well, and how scarce the world of wine has become, how supply constrained we are, and how important, dear friends, to entrust your Sotheby's friends to help you to find the allocation you desire.
So we're touching on lots of different aspects.
I know, big question.
Big question. So, I mean, authenticity and provenance is key to the marketplace nowadays. So you've got more and more collectors, buyers, people becoming interested. Yeah, 65% of our new buyers last year were in their 40s or younger. So these new buyers
In their 40s or younger.
Yep, 65%.
That's quite amazing.
Across wine and spirits. And so therefore you need, these people who are coming into the marketplace don't necessarily have cellars of old wines that they can go and enjoy. So therefore they have to buy the wines in the secondary market in order to enjoy it. And so you don't want, if you're 25, 30 years old, you don't want to have to buy something, keep it for 20 years and then start drinking it. You want to start drinking immediately. You want to discover these older vintages, which everyone's talking about. So the secondary markets are a very necessary part of the wine evolution and the economy. You want your wines to be in the secondary market. You want them to have a value. You want them to be sought after. You do want them to be consumed from youth all the way through, but you do need some to be cellared so that other people can enjoy them later on. In terms of our role in the auction business, I think we play a role at the very top end of it. So we're all about the best condition, the best provenance.
Yes.
Everything obviously must be authentic. We do, last year we did $132 million in auctions.
Of a total market?
The total market is about 500 million. So we did 132 of that through our 3 selling centers.
26% share, dear friends. That's impressive.
So, it's impressive. We'd like to get more, but it's a very competitive marketplace. But a lot of our sales, probably 65% of them, are through single owner sellers. So one particular seller coming to market, and then we also do we work with various different wineries or different distilleries to present unique opportunities direct from their sellers. And so that's a sort of obviously best provenance directly from the winery, directly from the distillery, is a sort of another angle to it.
And now, how did you succeed? We here in Napa Valley, and Jamie, I think it's a big coup. We were on a panel together not too long ago, which was really entertaining and a lot of fun and very inspiring. How did you succeed to get not only Burgundy, the distillers of Scotland, and as well the Napa Valley? I mean, that's a big coup for all of you who did not know Sotheby's as much in the wine space, but maybe more just on the arts or jewelry and everything else. This is a big deal.
So I think we had a vision to create a new channel of auctions focusing on the charitable environment. And that was a focus of ours. So once we started getting engaged with the Auspice Dubone auction and seeing how we could impact the Auspice Dubone and maybe bring some new avenues of distribution and interest, and how we can make it rather than just a once-a-year activity, an all-round activity. So once we started thinking about that, we'd already engaged with the Worshipful Company of Distillers to talk to them about creating a charitable auction in Scotland where the distilleries would donate property and the funds would go to the local community to help disadvantaged people in that community to gain jobs and access to work. So we'd already started working with them, and that was very interesting because that was creating an auction that hadn't existed before with a group of people. So you had the challenges of working with a worshipful company of distillers and the distillers and bringing everyone together as a community. And in fact, at the end of the auction in December, I'd never seen a more emotional audience at the end, because the people realized that they had actually created something from scratch that was truly worthwhile to the Scotch whisky industry and to their community. So that was very interesting. And since we were working on those two, I thought about, well, if we're working with Burgundy Bone in France, and we're working with the Scottish distilleries in Scotland, then what would make sense as a next logical step? And obviously that was a Napa Valley auction, Napa Valley Vintners. And so I contacted Linda, and we started a discussion about what they were doing. And obviously with COVID, their situation changed. And they were rethinking how the Napa Valley auction, Valley Vintners would present their auctions, and would fundamentally change their fundraising. And so we started a discussion about what we were doing with the distillers, what we were doing with Hospice de Beaune, and how we could work together with a relationship with the Napa Valley Vintners to try and, these wines in Napa Valley are phenomenal. Some of the greatest, most exciting wines, the evolution of them, the ageability of them, and the sort of trajectory of where we're going, and obviously all the innovation and excitement that is indigenous to California and to the US. And so we started talking about what we might be able to do together by presenting that to a more global audience. Because Napa Valley's always had a huge domestic demand, and our audience is super diverse globally.
Yes.
So roughly 50 to 65% of what we sell every year is also Asian buyers. So Europe and the Americas and Asia, and so that's sort of really where we can, I think, help bring a new spotlight onto the wines and the quality of wines in Napa.
And you bring spotlights, but at the same time you bring an enormous link between the buyer, the collectors, the people out in this world, and the producers, which is as well a great value added.
Sure, I mean it's all a wonderful ecosystem, but we can't exist without the other.
Yes.
And so the producers obviously make great wines, and the quality of the winemaking all around the world has been improving unbelievably. So any consumer today is unbelievably lucky. We bring some integrity, trust, and some innovation to the process of the distribution, and the clients bring their passion, enjoyment, enthusiasm, and this is not really just about
enthusiasm and enthusiasm.
Exactly, but this is not really about collecting wine, because everyone talks about collecting wine. It's really about consuming wine. Because there are some people who might collect wine and not consume it, but the vast majority are enthusiastic consumers who love talking about it, sharing it,
That's right,
drinking it, and obviously people buy more bottles than they can consume, because every night we need choice. We're not sure what we're going to drink, but that's the great thing about it. And you see today here in the Napa Valley, everyone there's an enthusiasm at bars. Everyone's talking about sharing wine, and that's what wine is about at the end of the day.
Well, talking about sharing wine, Jamie, we getting behind here.
You're more priced at this. You trained it with us.
I want you to try one of the iconic Napa Valley Cabernet Raymond, which is called Generation, 5 generations of winemakers, as early as the 19th century. So let's go back to history. You mentioned Napa Valley. What would you like for you as Sotheby's, and how would you like to impact it with this continuous auction that you're starting? And explain us how it's going to work, so everybody can actually tonight start to look at the lots, and tomorrow, if you decide so, to bid, and whenever you decide so, to join.
So with our relationship with Napa Valley Vintners, we're actually running 5 different auctions a year. So which is a different undertaking than
Congratulations.
Something like so we've already done a library wine auction, which we did a few weeks ago. The auctions are coming up this weekend, tomorrow. Our focus only the trade can bid.
Yes.
But obviously, if you're a private individual, you can have your trade, any trade connection bid on your behalf. And so the lots, each of the lots in the Premiere Napa Valley tomorrow are special cuvées, one of ones made just for this auction. So there's special selections, and so there's a huge tasting today of all the lots, and they're all described on the website. You can go on the app, to look at them, and we'll be offering those tomorrow. And then after that, when that closes, that'll be a live auction, and we also have an online only auction called Perspectives, which showcase some older vintages, again just for the trade to bid on, but find a friendly trade member if you'd like to bid as a private individual. And so this is the auction for tomorrow, and then we'll be doing the barrel auction in June. And then we'll be doing, which is part of the Collective Napa Valley, the new initiative on the subscriber element. And then we'll be doing 2 auctions in November as well. So we'll sort of be doing a whole series of auctions, so if you like, year round. And what we want to do is try and bring, obviously, the awareness of the quality, innovation, excitement in the winemaking to a broader audience.
And that's very exciting, as you and I have discussed, the idea of doing more than one auction. So explain us the advantage of doing this, because in Burgundy, again, it's one time in November, and that's it. Why is it so critical? And I believe what you've succeeded to put together with Linda Reef and the team at the Vintners is brilliant, because there's every other month a reminder of who we are and what we do.
Right, so you want the story to be told not once a year, but to be continuous a year around the year. And so as we partner with different organizations, we learn more about what they are, what they represent, and also how we can use our platform and our network to better inform people about what is happening in the world of Napa, for example. And so I think, so having a regular cycle of auctions is obviously super interesting. And then how do we communicate on that to a global audience and make it relevant to them to help grow the marketplace? Because the marketplace is, there's new consumers coming to the marketplace every day. So we want to tell them about the wines of Napa, about the quality of them, about the different producers, about the nuance of them, and the subtlety and the elegance and the finesse, which maybe, has not been understood by the consumers as much as it should be today.
That's right. And why? Well, cheers to that.
Cheers.
This is well said. The sophistication, the finesse, and the nuance. I love it. So I'm excited because we have a lot 14. It's pretty historical. There's 2 wineries joining hands. Charles Krug, oldest winery in Napa, 1861. Buena Vista Winery, 1857. Doing a lot together. So thanks to Jamie, thanks to the auction, we decided as 2 producers to join hands on that very unique specific lot. And I'm just mentioning one among how many lots?
Just under 110.
Yeah, 110. So we all doing something specific, one and only, for this purpose. So there's a reason to collect.
Absolutely, and everyone's thought about so you've done a super innovative collaboration between 2 of the oldest wineries, and everyone's thought about, okay, so is it a selection of the best barrels? Is it just one block? Everyone's been thinking about how to create a one of one that is engaging, and the buyer of that will be the only person who has it.
Yeah. That's right.
And what one of one is super interesting. Is what with the auction in Scotland, we called it Distillers One of One. So every distillery to create something that no one else had. And this auction is the same for Premiere.
And why do we as individuals always want what the other one doesn't have? Let's go back to humanities, to existentialism.
Because I think it's rare, it's unique, and we get to share that. Because there's wine, if it's something which is more material, wine's consumable, and it's the only thing that's consumable that Sotheby sells.
Really?
Maybe marijuana is coming next, or something else.
It's a scoop.
Edibles, but it's the only thing which we sell that's consumable.
Yes.
And people love to get together and share wine. And so if you have something that no one else has, they therefore haven't tasted it. So therefore you can enlighten them and share it with them.
That's right.
And they can you can enjoy it together. You can, depending on the quantities, some of the lots are 60 bottles, 5 cases, and some are 20 cases. So if you've got 20 cases, you can gift some, you can share some, you can drink them, you can party with them, and so I think there's something which is about the collector nature is sort of endemic in people wanting to have something that no one else has, and therefore I can share it with you, and you can't get this anywhere else.
And enlighten us on the importance of collecting and drinking as well. You said something important, coming from the most historical auction house in the world, 1744. You know, you could have the interest to say, okay, let's collect and keep passing around and re-auctioning the same wine. But you said something important as well, is sharing, drinking, enjoying. Give us maybe your perspective of how you see the wine world tomorrow and how you see maybe, you know, the role of Sotheby's within that space further.
So I think, so between collecting and consuming, and there's people obviously who just buy and consume, and that's many people. But I put myself,
Here we are.
I put myself in that category. But
Cheers, I'll drink to that.
But I think, people ask us how much of our wine is bought for consumption versus for collecting, and we don't know. But we think it's roughly 50-50. And obviously people buy more than they can consume. At different stages in life, you may be more at home, you may have younger kids. As your kids go up, they go to college, you travel more, you eat out more, therefore you do less home consumption. So the pattern of consumption changes. Most of what we get to sell at Sotheby's, you've got the 3Ds, death, debt, divorce for the auction business.
The 3Ds, death,
Debt, divorce.
divorce.
And then for the 4th D for the auction business, you got doctor's orders. And now you've got, I would add another.
Well, my doctors tell me more red wine.
Exactly, yeah. I do more red wine in any case. And then this year we've seen a lot of I'm calling it delocation rather than relocation, because it's another D. A lot of people moving houses, so and therefore needing to move their cellars, and they don't want to move them, so they say sell them. So we see that, but the vast majority of wine and spirits that we see coming to us is because people just acquire too much, and they realize that they never possibly consume that volume of wine in their lifetime. But in terms of sort of moving forward, I think it's going to be very interesting, the future of the wine market, and I think it's going to evolve tremendously over the next 5 years as every producer wants to know their client, so therefore they want the transparency of whose their wines are going to. So the direct-to-consumer route is a good one. It's a great one. You know your client, but it's only one channel of distribution. I think you still need it to get into restaurants, to get into different people's hands, to get into secondary market environments, to retail. So as we go through the evolution, the probably biggest driver is probably going to be the transition to the blockchain. And the application of NFTs to our business. So whether an NFT is redeemable for a bottle, whether it is redeemable for an experience, whether it's redeemable for a membership. And obviously that's, we live in a complicated world of regulation where NFTs will be regulated, wine's regulated, depending upon the jurisdictions, etc. But I think the concept of the blockchain will be fundamental to adapting how wines are distributed and the transparency of the market between the producer and the consumer.
Oof, it's leaving a fascinating time ahead.
Oh, sure.
The oldest auction house in the world telling us about the blockchain. That's pretty cool.
So we are in our art business. We are one of the leaders in that space. We already sold over $100 million worth of NFTs last year. And so one of the advantages for us is that innovation is already happening. And obviously, ours has some layers and degrees of complexity around regulation, but it's super interesting that that's already happening.
Well, I was amazed, as well as some of it you've sold, is fractional art ownership.
Well, so when we started applying,
it's got to be hard to do for a bottle of wine, but tell us about that.
Well, so I think fractional ownership, as it applies to wine, obviously for a bottle of wine, is less interesting from my perspective, because at the end of the day, a bottle of wine is really interesting when you've got a corkscrew and you pull the cork and put it into a glass. Looking at bottles of wine is less enjoyable than drinking them. But when you get into fractional ownership in terms of barrels of whether that's whiskey or wine, I think that's really where it gets very interesting. Obviously, there's the wine is sold in Bordeaux and Burgundy. Whiskey is sold by barrels. So how do you get into fractional ownership in those areas is very interesting.
Well, we know a barrel is 300 bottles.
Yep.
And the auction in Burgundy is barrel focus, so you buy a barrel. I mean, today we know in Burgundy, as an example, I can think of a group of great doctors we've been buying for 25 years for, and there are 25 of them, and they each take a case.
Yep.
And here we go.
Right.
And the deal is done, so we know that they elected already to share that barrel. They have a limit of a price they're willing to pay for that. That converts into the finished bottle with a cork. And we buy it for them, and it's no different.
Right. So that's a manual process been going on for years, and yeah, very effectively done. But what's interesting about the world today is when you automate.
That's right.
And so when you automate and you bring people together who don't know each other, who can share things together. And so that's the really interesting part for me, is like, because the manual part of putting these people together, which is super well done by you and other negotiants, is the effectively creating that marketplace.
Yes.
But when you take it on a digital version and automate the process and link up someone way over here with someone way over here who don't know each other, but can both benefit from the experience of getting together, then that's super interesting for many, many different reasons.
I think that's brilliant. Not to go on, because he's going to have to use this hammer shortly, dear friends. Question dealing with the acceptance of crypto within your database. Is it something you've moved into now, where we can actually use Bitcoin and Ethereum and inlikes to do transaction?
Yes. So the Sotheby's business as a whole is embracing that. Obviously, it has its own complications about which jurisdiction we're selling in, what type of property we're selling, etc. But I think for the future, we all recognize that whether it's crypto or whether it's blockchain or NFTs, we're all going to be moving in this direction across our business. And so it is, and this is where I think it's going to be super interesting, because a lot of these things will necessitate change amongst the way we handle property, we process it, the transparency we give throughout the system. And so I think all of this is, evolution happens relatively slowly.
Yes.
But when technology is driving the evolution, then you can't wait for the technology you can't slow down the technology. It's going to happen, and therefore you need to adapt to it.
The big question, how are we going to adapt to a metaverse and drink wine together at a distance? We'll split that bottle and we're all going to be on the same metaverse?
There'll be some people who will be drinking it digitally.
Yes.
With that avatar, they'll be drinking it digitally. And that's how they may get their enjoyment. Probably that's not how I'm going to get my enjoyment of wine. I'm still going to be putting it in a glass and drinking it and sharing it with friends. But I think you're going to have these two different worlds. Yes. You're going to have a digital-only world, and you're going to have a physical world, and then you'll have the two where they bring them together.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, I think also, I mean, like we're looking at like many little 2CL or 5CL samples to be able to send to different people prior to auctions, in order for them to be able to taste different, rare, unique whiskies, wines, etc. So that's an evolution which I think is going to continue.
And that makes a lot of sense. We've done that over the last few years ourselves with our Burgundy pre-sales. Yep. Little bottles, and it was very effective. The wine was still extremely good, well preserved. People could taste it and take a position on it. So I think it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's the evolution. The little samples are super interesting, very efficient, and you need to get people excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so talking to them about it is one thing. We do a lot of that. Giving them a little taste, what's in your glass, is what it's all about.
So tomorrow you're going to be on stage.
God willing, I will be there. Yes, I'll be there.
Well, the more Raymond generation you have, the more you'll wake up
fortified,
energized, fortified. So how do you use that hammer?
It's very easy. You just pick it up and you bang it, and that's at the close of the lot. So it's and so this is a hammer which I've had for 20 something years. It's not a very fancy one, as you can see.
It's a beautiful
but
one.
it's a trusted friend. The head has fallen off a number of times into the audience, but it is it's I guess the auctioneer's tool.
And you have a candle too.
We luckily, apart from one lot at the Hospice de Beaune, for the President's Barrel, we have a candle which is purely symbolic nowadays.
And explain the role of the candle if someone doesn't know what it means. It's pretty cool when you think about it.
So the traditional, in French auctions, the traditional role of the candle was that when the candle went out, the bidding stopped and the buyer was announced. Now, obviously, today we're a little bit more commercially savvy than that, and we want to extend the auction to maximise the full bidding. So the auctioneer controls the lot, and at the fall of the hammer is when the lot is sold.
So you left-handed, I take it.
I'm right-handed, but traditionally I used to have a pen in my right hand, and the hammer therefore was in the left hand. Now we're all digital. We sold from iPads. No pen is required.
You probably by now ambidextrous anyhow.
So well, I'm working on it.
So
Certainly with my wine glass.
what would be your big statement to everyone? Your final statement of encouragement for tomorrow and for Sotheby's growing the wine world, and for people to be more engaged into this world, which is very exciting as well.
Well, for tomorrow, I think it's just like, the best way for me to look at the auction is on the app, on the Sotheby's app. It's super easy to use. You can register, bid from it anywhere you are. So we have people, at their kids' soccer games, people on planes, they're swiping on the.
But that's great that you provide this opportunity, which did not happen years ago.
Right, and it's pretty seamless, and it takes it from online to the live auction. So for tomorrow's auction, go look at the auctions. They're both there, super easy to use. Look at what it is. If you've got any questions, just my colleague Paul is right here in this room with us. We have a team of 16 people out here.
Wow.
To manage the auction. So if anyone's got any questions, just let us know, and we're super friendly people. So contact us. And as far as wine's about enjoying, drinking, sharing, experimenting. And there's so many younger people coming into it on a global basis. And so we got growth in Asia, we got growth in the Americas, in Europe as well. And so I think it's just about getting more involved, understanding the different nuances, the flavors, the complexity of the wines, who's making what. There's always in Burgundy, as you know, there's a new generation of winemakers coming through all the time. So properties that maybe were a little bit dusty are being refreshed and regenerated by the new generation, and that happens worldwide continuously. And so I think the quality of wine that's made today for the $20, the $50 which you spend, the quality you're getting in your glass is better than ever it was before, even if prices have escalated and it means you can't actually afford the wine you used to be able to afford on a regular basis. So I think with Burgundy, some people have been priced out of the market as what they used to buy, but that's okay because what they can still afford today is a lot better than they were buying 25 years ago.
That's right.
And so the quality of wine is phenomenal, and I think it's just, it is such a joy to travel around the wine regions. Obviously COVID's beginning to recede. People are beginning to travel again. I've been one of the more aggressive COVID travelers, but people are beginning to travel again. Come to Napa Valley, come visit the winemakers, enjoy the food. Go to Burgundy. Go to Scotland. Travel, enjoy it. The winemakers, and the distillers and the people who make everything, they're super passionate people.
That's right.
They're knowledgeable, they're kind, they have so much wisdom that they want to impart. And for a couple of years they've been doing it down, on Zoom and Teams and whatever it is. And these people are desperate to tell their story about what they're doing, and use them, have access to them, call them, contact them, visit them. And enjoy the wines and spirits.
I love it. So exciting, dear friends. So to passion. Jamie, thank you for joining us. We cannot wait to see the results, to see his magical touch, his lethal hammer, and we'll raise more money for the community, which is the great news as well, and make this amazing region even better than ever before. And to Sotheby's, joining Napa Valley.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to be here.
Pleasure.